From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Every presidential election is one for the history books, and certainly this year of 2016 has been no exception, and perhaps even more. Today on Inside Politics, we'll look at the lives, the friendships, and the times of two men, two presidents who ran against each other for our nation's highest office. They are John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. They are also the subjects of a new book, Agony and Eloquence: John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and a World of Revolution. The author is Nashville resident Daniel L. Mallock. He's our guest today. Mr. Mallock, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Pat, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Now, on the inside front cover of your book, the first thing it says, and I'll quote, "Agony and Eloquence is the story of the greatest friendship in American history." Why so? What makes the relationship between Thomas Jefferson and John Adams that important?
They're both signers of the Declaration. They both were in the Continental Congress. They both served in Europe as diplomats. They were great friends and colleagues.
Served in the first cabinet?
Yes, Jefferson as Secretary of State, Adams as Vice President, obviously, to George Washington. They were great friends, united by this concept of independency, champions of freedom and liberty, and then they went their own separate ways. Their friendship was split basically on partisan lines. But later on, they came back together after 10 years. And to me, this model of friends who are split by political differences and then return and are able to accept the other person's differences while appreciating their better qualities is a model that we need to have.
While Adams and Jefferson came together in the American Revolution for the first time, what really divided them when you talk about revolutionary times in this book was the French Revolution.
Correct.
That's the major thing that was they both supported it to some degree, but I think Jefferson always saw it from the French point of view, no matter how wild and radical it might get with the guillotine and the problems with the Directory and the other things that were going on. He always thought there was still, no matter how much everybody in this country revolted from it, Adams was much more, though, toward more the English model. He liked more the English Republic than although he was accused of being a monarchist.
Oh, there's no question. Adams was accused of being a monarchist. He always denied it. He didn't quite understand that some of the concepts that he supported in his writings had an aristocratic or monarchist tinge, whereas the Jeffersonians wanted to eradicate all of that and go in a totally different direction. Jefferson was a populist and a Democrat, supported the revolution in France, forgave every bit of ultra-violence that they did, the appalling horror that the revolution became.
The Reign of Terror.
Yeah, the horror of it. He was even okay with that, and the reason is because he had a very long generational view of revolution that very few people understood, and he couldn't explain it to Adams so that Adams could really accept it until very, very late in their friendship.
They were a strange pair to wind up being friends. They had very different personalities. They came from very different parts of the country. Adams from New England was a lawyer. Jefferson was a planter and a slaveholder from the South.
Yes, he was. Totally different men, but united in this concept of independence from Great Britain and going in a totally new direction where there's popular freedoms for the people, most particularly religious tolerance, freedom of speech, and a new form of government that was not at all a tyranny. So they were united in this revolutionary goal.
What was your attraction to this book? I mean, what made you pick John Adams and Thomas Jefferson to be the first book that you've written in terms of a history?
I grew up in Quincy, Massachusetts, about half a mile from John Adams' home called Peacefield, and spent a great many afternoons there as a kid. You know, when you're growing up, you have special places you like to go. I was also 2 miles away from the ocean, Wollaston Beach, this beautiful place to go see the sunrise. Just awesome. So I'd go there very often, several times a week, and as I got older, I'd get some coffee and sit on the seawall and just, meditate. The second place, or the place I would switch off with, would be the wall in front of Peacefield on Adams Street. And just to kind of soak in this atmosphere of history and being around these great people, John Quincy Adams, John Adams, Abigail Adams, Charles Francis Adams, just an amazing family, and so lucky to be there. I wanted to take advantage of being so close to such an important place in our history.
So you've dreamed about writing a book about John Adams even back when you were a kid?
I knew that eventually I would go back to Adams. I mean, Adams and Jefferson were always important people in my life, heroes to me.
What's the significance of the title, Agony and Eloquence?
Their letters are so eloquent, so beautifully written, lengthy, insightful, really beautiful to read. People don't write in this way anymore. Jefferson was an absolute master of language. He so knew how to use words and phrases. Adams also was no slouch at all.
And in our era, we don't understand the significance of writing letters to people anyway. Everything is an email or a text or something on Facebook, and they're much, much shorter. But in the 18th and 19th centuries, letter writing was an art. It was the way people cultivated their friendships, even if they were apart.
Absolutely. And the fact that there's so much time involved in writing a letter, posting it, having that letter arrive, if it arrives at all, then maybe you'll get a response maybe 2 weeks later. So each correspondence was kind of weighty with importance. And you see that in the book and in their letters to each other and to others as well.
Daniel L. Mallock is our guest. He's a Nashville author who's written a book about Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. It's a fascinating book. The two ran against each other twice for president. We'll talk about that in our second segment. Stay with us on Inside Politics. Be back after this break.